President of the United States weighs in on the draft. Look at what he had to say. Quote, "What is wrong with NFL owners? Are they stupid? Deion Sanders was a great college football player and was even greater in the National Football League. He's also a very good coach, streetwise and smart. Therefore, Shedeur, his quarterback's son, has phenomenal genes and is all set for greatness. He should be picked immediately by a team that wants to win. Good luck, Shedeur, and say hello to your wonderful father." So we know how the President of the United States feels about primetime Deion Sanders. And Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, she said that the president said something and suddenly he was picked. She did add a few rounds later, like that's not a big deal. Clearly she's not bad. Football is not her expertise because it's a few rounds later. That's the whole point of why this is a big story. He should have been picked in the first round. He didn't go until the 5th round. Nevertheless, that's really not an issue right now worth discussing compared to what we've got to get into. Because I already broke down my feelings on that on Saturday. But do y'all remember what happened to Shedeur on Friday, the second day of the draft? Sanders received a phone call from someone pretending to be Saints general manager Mickey Loomis. For those of you who didn't see it, please check it out.
Hello?
Hey, is this Shedeur?
You got that call? Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, this is Mickey Loomis here, the GM of the New Orleans Saints.
Say it one more time for me.
This is Mickey Loomis here, GM of the Saints.
How you doing?
Good, how are you, man?
Good, been waiting on you.
Go! Yeah, we have. It's been a long wait, man.
No, for sure.
We're gonna take you with our next pick right here, man.
Yeah. Yes, sir, let's be legendary.
Hey, but you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, man.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Ready to go!
What does that mean?
What? What'd he say?
I don't know.
How you gonna ask us what it means and you was on the phone?
You heard that? You said you're not.
So it turns out the phone call was a prank from Jax Ulbrich, who actually taped the incident. Jax is the son of Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich. The Falcons said that 21-year-old Jax wrote down Shedeur's number from his father's open iPad while visiting his parents' home. He apologized on Sunday, issuing this statement, reading in part, quote, "On Friday night, I made a tremendous mistake. Shedeur, what I did was completely inexcusable, embarrassing, and shameful. I'm so sorry I took away from your moment. It was selfish and childish. I could never imagine getting ready to celebrate one of the greatest moments of your life, and I made a terrible mistake and messed with that moment. Thank you for accepting my call early today. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me," end quote. As for the Falcons, they issued their own statement saying in part, quote, "The Atlanta Falcons do not condone this behavior and send our sincere apologies to Shedeur Sanders and his family, who we have been in contact with to apologize to, as well as facilitate an apology directly from Jax to the Sanders family," end quote. Finally, the Falcons said in their statement that Jeff Ulbrich was not aware of the data breach or the prank call until after the fact, end quote. Let me say this. I completely believe Jeff Ulbrich. I think grown adults wouldn't do such a thing. There's no evidence to the contrary to say or incriminate him in any way. And I can't imagine how appalled he was. The first thought that came to my mind is, did Jax Ulbrich get his ass whipped? Because that's exactly what he deserved. He deserved an ass whipping. He deserved his father strolling up to whatever school he's in and whipping his ass in front of the students. Now, obviously, he's 21 years of age, so he's a young man. Maybe knocking him upside the head, that would have been better. We can say that Shedeur Sanders will forgive, and it's always good to forgive because when you don't forgive, you're wearing that on your sleeves. And you're taking up and you're giving that space in your life and in your soul. And why would anybody need to do that? But does Jax Ulbrich deserve it so easily? No, he does not. He should be embarrassed. He should be ashamed. Now, when I was on my day job on First Take on ESPN earlier today, I said that I wasn't going to show, like a photo of him. But I didn't know this social media post was out and everybody had already seen it because I hadn't seen it. I heard about it, but I didn't see it. So considering the fact that this idiot taped it anyway with himself on camera, hell, what you want me to do? Because what we saw was Shedeur Sanders' reaction. And look at what he said. You looking forward to coming? Well, unfortunately, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. So he called just to make him feel like garbage. And I'm supposed to believe that you're sorry? No, you're sorry because you know that you almost cost your father his job and his career. You're 21 years of age and you would do something like that. You're 21 years of age and you would be that cruel, that classless, that insensitive. That's bad enough. But clearly you gave absolutely positively no thought to your father because you were on camera. It wasn't like it was just a phone call and they got to find a phone call. They could actually see your dumb ass. You actually did that and put your father and his name on Front Street. You almost got him fired. Luckily, he's been associated with the NFL long enough as a player and a coach for people to know his character and his integrity that he wouldn't do something like that. So it was believed, and that way he's able to move forward. But you almost cost your father his career. How stupid can you be? Outside of classless, in other words that I don't feel like calling you right now. There are certain times where people deserve to get their ass kicked, and this was one of them. Now let me get to Shedeur Sanders, because I'm going to reiterate my point about this. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody's missing the picture. I've seen a bunch of people coming at me talking about, well, you know what? He wasn't that good. 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, over 4,100 yards passing. You want to act like the brother couldn't ball? Okay, fine. We all know he could ball. He was projected potentially to be the #1 pick. Then when it was clear that Cam Ward was going to be #1, you wondered whether he was going to go at #3. Before the Raiders acquired Geno Smith, you wondered whether he was going to go to 6. Then the New Orleans Saints definitely was interested at 9 because Derek Carr hurt his shoulder. Pittsburgh Steelers with Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson in their quarterback room clearly were interested in him. The Rams, looking for a successor to Matthew Stafford, was interested in him. So you can say what you want, but a worst case scenario has Shedeur Sanders possibly dropping out of the first round, a la Jalen Hurts, or being the last pick of the first round, a la Lamar Jackson. The Giants, when they moved up in the draft to acquire a quarterback, they picked Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. Don't know why. The Browns picked Dylan Gabriel, who was a Heisman Trophy finalist, by the way, and can ball, but at 5'11", considering his arm strength and everything else, he wasn't considered in the same class as Shedeur Sanders. Some dude named Tyler Sook got picked ahead of Shedeur Sanders. Y'all don't have a problem with that? The most important position in the National Football League is the quarterback position. A projected first-round pick falling to the 5th round is not something we have ever seen for somebody who wasn't coming off a devastating injury or had a checkered pass or didn't have a checkered pass off the field. Those are the only kinds of folks that drop that precipitously. Neither applies to Shedeur Sanders. He has no checkered